So now we're going to begin modelling the actual vehicle itself. One of the first things to do is just to turn on our grid, load up our group here, and just make sure that the group is kind of roughly in the centre here. And it's also worth checking, because I don't think I did this in the last video, that everything lines up okay. So you can see that's not quite lining up. So let's just pull these in. Just drag these both down so that the lines are bang on here. And again, you can just drag these over here just to make 100% sure. So obviously the front here is a bit lower down, so that looks about right. Let's put that back to there. And we'll drag these two back out. And it can be worth checking that these are lined up as well. And then let's move these back out a bit. Okay, now the reason I place this over the centre is so that when we model, we can use the centre point for mirroring and symmetry and stuff like that. Okay, so to begin, there's a couple of ways you can start a vehicle like this. The first one is to start on one of the panels like a door and then work your way out from that one. Another way to start is to start on a panel like the bonnet. But planning is very important. You want to make sure you've got the kind of right number of loops. You want to think about whether you're going to use subdivisions or not. I mean, there's two ways to model this really. Like, one way is to use subdivisions and one way is to not use subdivisions. So you can just model in all the detail straight away. I think we'll model this so that we can use subdivisions and not use them basically, and then decide kind of later on the overall polycount. So another thing I want to quickly discuss here is making sure you've got loops in the right places. So one good way to figure this out is if we load up Photoshop and load up one of our plans. So the side view here, and turn off our grid real quick. What you can do is use your plan and in Photoshop just roughly mark on where you think you're going to need points. So we'll need one there. Now if you're not sure about this on the plan, this can actually be easier to do on your research images. So as you can see, I didn't save out that full step from the previous tutorial, so I'm just going to do that now and then restart. Okay, so if we load up our side view here, we can see it could be a bit easier to plan the amount of points we need in our model, and really the important one here is to get the wheel arch right. So we can see we're definitely going to need one there, there, and there. So this one I'm not too bothered about, we could put that one in afterwards. So for this we're going to need one here, here. Then we'll need a nice kind of even spread along the body here. And we'll need two here as well. We'll need two for that there, potentially need one here as well. So I'd say that's what we're going to need in our wheel arch, unless we triangulate any of these, in which case we could definitely lose one. You might want to look at some details as well and think, well, I could do that with a normal map, so it's worth like checking areas like this. Like, would that be okay in a normal map? So you can obviously have a look at that from some other angle, something like that. And you look at the size of that and think, well, especially if you get close to the car, it's reasonably big detail. And also areas like this little thing here, would you push that through or would you model that in? Let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we've got 14 points in our wheel arch at the moment. So just to show you a real quick way then, now that we've gone through that, we might as well, I wouldn't normally do the wheel arch first, but we might as well start with that now. So if we make a tube and go to our sides here, now it's got 14 points in it, but obviously this is kind of cut off, so maybe if we stick 28 points in there, so double the amount, and then rotate this 90 degrees and scale it up. And then when we select that, we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, 14. So we've got 15 points in there. So what we could do is just reduce it down to 26. Let's see if we still get our half point there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go, so we've got our 14 points. Now if we do Control Shift and I, that will invert it. And we can delete that out like so. Okay, so one thing I probably should have done is brought up the radius of this a little bit. So, because if we look at, by the way, whenever you're modelling as well, you should always have your pictures of your vehicle up, at least one picture. So on my second screen, depending on which bit of the vehicle I'm working on, I will have the images over here. So especially if I'm happy, also if I'm happy with this side view, I can have both of these up. And if I like this side view, notice how I'm working on with the vehicle the other way around. So what I might do is just open that up in Photoshop and just rotate that. So I'm just going to save that as flipped. And there we go, so now I will always have this on my second monitor. And if you notice here, notice how it's got this thin strip all the way around it that's kind of sitting flush with it. So it kind of starts here and goes around and then gradually fades out kind of around here. So you can see this strip is actually quite useful for that. So we can try scaling this out. And another useful tool, by the way, is either this tool here, which if you turn off the grid, it's quite useful, or if you've got the bonus tools installed, you can use the translucency thing here. If you don't have that, you can also apply something like a Lambert to this and then use the transparency here. So if you add a keyframe on frame 1 by pressing S and then go to frame 2 and put your transparency down and press S again, Oh, see, it doesn't really like that. Okay, we'll leave that. It's the trick I used to do in 3ds Max, but obviously we can't do that here, so we'll leave that off for now. Okay, so what we want to do is get this nicely kind of lined up to this edge. Remember as well, you can obviously smooth this off to see how that's looking. So what I might do here is just get it kind of roughly lined up and then manually tweak it somewhat. It's not going to be a perfect kind of circle anyway. Okay, so something like that is a good start for our wheel arch. Now also what we want to do is go to the top view and just get this kind of roughly positioned. It can also be good here to use two views, so if you click on your second arrow here, you can pick whichever view you want here. So we could have the front view over here and turn on our plan, and in this view just work in whatever view we want. So you can see the wheel arch actually kind of bends around here. So again, making sure, although you can't see it on my screen, on my second monitor, I always have one of these images on here. And look, I'm nicely zoomed in on the wheel arch so I can see the overall shape of it. Another really important rule when you're doing any modelling like this is to get each kind of vertex that you make right first before you move on to anything else. And this can take time. This is a really kind of tricky bit, but once it's right, you're laughing basically. See, and this is where you can see this bottom edge here. If we look at some of our sorry, on my second monitor, you can see the way that actually angles down. So that's what we're going to want to interpret in this. And at this point here, you could use your left view, depending on how you've made your plans. You could use your left view to actually get that curvature exactly right, particularly on the front here. So I might have a little error with my plans here, in that what I want to do is just come back to object mode, select this, and get this lined up with that shape. So if I turn on that, see, because I know now that this wheel arch is in the right place for my top view, and I'm kind of happy with where my top view is. So if we get this view exactly lined up with it, we can now line those up as well. And we'll want to do that with our back view as well, but we're not using our back view right now, so we'll do that in a bit. So yeah, there is always a bit of kind of tweaking with the plans when you first start. So we can see that's going to come right under there actually. This one's going to come right under there, and obviously we can't see this angle from our top view, so that's why you need to make use of all your views. And this might seem like really finicky and annoying, but you know, if you get it right at the start, then it's going to save you loads of hassle like later on. Now you might think, you know, that's a little bit out, but that's kind of what you're going to expect from plans. Plans are always kind of not quite right. So that might almost come as far in as that one. Okay, so there's the rough shape for our wheel arch. So I didn't really mean to do that first, but at least we've kind of got that in place now and we've sorted out those plans. So let's do one of the easier bits now. So we'll do the actual doorway. And now we've got our plans kind of reasonably well set up. Let's go into our layer manager, select our plan group, add these to a new layer, and just set this to R. And now I can't select those plans, so they're never going to get in the way. Okay, so I'll go back to I'll stay in perspective view, and this time we're going to make a plane, and we'll scale it out a bit. We'll set it so it's only got one subdivision, and we'll rotate this 90 degrees. And just scale this down. So we're going to start the door from a flat plane. Now again, it can be worth going here, and we can actually see one, you know, this is how many sides we're going to potentially need. Now remember that we didn't draw this one in. Oh, see, I've done it on the wrong layer there, so what I could do is just quickly get rid of that, make sure I'm on all the layers, and just get rid of that real quick just so I know it's not there. So we're definitely going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in order for that to work. Like if we just lower our opacity down and lower our brush size down, this will be the next step of this, is to actually draw where these are going to go. So yeah, I might need to have one kind of more in here, so I should definitely go down like that. So what we might do is have one here like that. So obviously at the moment we're going to have a small issue here, but we can add 1 point in to get that right. So adding 1 point in really isn't the end of the world. So it's when you're adding loads of points in, so it's going to be easy enough to add that 1 point in there. And something like that, so you can see how easy it makes it to create your topology. So we know we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there. Okay, so we'll go to our front view now, again using our translucency tool here. And we'll just roughly position this. Remember what I said before, oh, you can use F9 to go to vertex mode, by the way. That's what I sometimes use to, let's get to that. Just get the vertices bang on in the right place initially. And then if we use edge tool, insert edge loop tool, and add some more edges in. So that'll do for now. We'll go to vertex mode and again just position these where we want them to go. So another good rule here is to only work on the 2 axes you can see in this view. Make sure you're not ever using the full kind of range of your axis control, otherwise you might be making changes to the verts without knowing where they're going. Okay, so do we have any more? No, so that's about right. So again, make sure you're as accurate as possible. As accurate as you can be, you just don't know with these plans anyway, but just try and make sure you're nice and accurate. So again, I'm just going to make sure I'm putting that loop in the right place. I think it's actually this line that we want to go off. And again, that's why it's useful to always have those pictures around to help you. So now we can see they're going to join up, they're going to join up, they'll join up, and so on. Okay, so if we go to our top view, we want to drag the whole door out to here and start to position this. So again, we'll go to our 2-view setup. So maybe we'll use the front view here. Sorry, not that view. And just select the 2 here and just drag those back. Now notice how it's slightly out on the edge of the door here compared to here. And that's kind of an artistic decision you'll need to make, like whether you think you should go off the top view or your side view. I tend to like to pick one view as the main view, basically, and go with that one. And then also, you see here we can't really tell where that one is. If we look at our left view, we could probably use the wheel arch to roughly get this right. And also obviously use our images to check. See, one thing we haven't really considered here is this here where it comes in, so we're definitely going to need some points for that as well. And that's because I actually still have this linked on the transparency. Okay, so we can continue from this shape now to make this back panel here. And what we would maybe also want to do is we can plan our wheel arch again, or continue from this one. But you can see how this wheel arch is a different shape. And again, we can use our top view to get this lined up, but this time we want to have a look at our back view in relation to this wheel arch. And remember before we didn't actually get the back view properly lined up, so let's go into our layers, turn that off so we can select the back view. And then make sure we get this lined up to the wheel arch. So I'm going to do hide unselected so I can only see that's probably about right. So we can set this again to R, select our wheel art shape. So I was selected on the wrong vert, so it's these ones we want for this back area here. Another little trick, by the way, if we go to face mode and just select those, and then oh yeah, we need to actually select span as well, so we'll leave that off. Okay, so this one we're going to have to do a little bit of guesswork with this. What we can do, of course, is use our views here to see how that back part of the arch actually sits in relation to this. I wouldn't say it's too far off it, so I don't think we should be changing those too much. Okay, so that's probably roughly right for now. Okay, so with this shape selected, we will select the set of edges by selecting the first edge and then double clicking on this edge down here while holding shift. Then we'll hold shift, right click and go to extrude edge. Go straight to move mode with W and just drag this out. Say to roughly there. And I'm just going to line this up to this kind of edge here, I think, for now. So remember not to do any more additions to this model until you've finished tweaking the edges that you have there. I'm just going to soften those edges so they're nice and soft. Okay, so you can see now we're getting the rough kind of side plan in there. So let's continue now from this shape. So we're going to work our way up here and then make the bonnet as well. So if we look here, you can see we wanted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points in our bonnet area. So I'm going to use this option here so that I can see my wireframe as well. And what we can do is just select this entire loop here, again by selecting the first edge and then clicking on the second edge and holding shift and just double clicking like that. And then we'll go to extrude edge